Oh, yeah.
Tessy.
Okay, we're started. Thought we was just bullshitting. I'm like,
yes,
just
that's all
bullshitting
we're
away.
doing. We're just bullshitting. Hey, we're friends. So,
yeah, so I'm Tessy with Mitties Medicinals.
right. And it's some of my favorite, by the way. And it always has been since I've tried it, since I first tried it. And I fell in love with the story, the backstory of it.
Yeah.
And the reason why you make it.
It is. It's that product is special to me. Actually, like my mom, so we just celebrated 2 years sobriety with her with the refreshers. But when we got started into it, everybody's doing the traditional gummies and all of that, which we do too. But I really wanted to like find a way to get it in a beverage. I wanted to get it into a beverage, into a portable form of a beverage that was low enough dose that similar to consuming alcohol. I'm not going for Everclear. I'm going for a couple beers.
Right.
And I wanted to figure that out, and I spent thousands of hours researching and wanted to do it on my own. There's companies out there that will make the nano for you, and I didn't want that. Like, I wanted to know how to do it all on my own. I wanted to control every bit of it, like control the quality of it, everything. And so I started researching like botanical extractions, botanical emulsions, with like lemon oil and orange oil and things like that. Like, how do they get that into this orange soda?
Right.
And I started researching it and kind of came up with it and developed my own methods and started in it was these little glass. Well, actually, we started in a big bottle, and back when Elevated Spirits was first opened.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they were like one of my first stores
all
there
right.
that it went into, but the bottle didn't sell. And then I'm like, you know what? It's because as a consumer, I'm not going to spend a ton of money on something that I don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah.
So then we switched to these little vials, and then we had little vials that we sold.
So the cost went down then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
A lot. We went from like, a $60 bottle to a $6.
Oh, yeah.
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 So it was a big
Much more
difference. Big difference.
Yeah.
But and it just kind of took off, and then we really started struggling with like the glass vials breaking, issue of like people not knowing what's in it, because then we had to go into the opaque packaging. So the opaque packaging, we had to move them into a bag that people couldn't even see them. We kind of played around with it, and then when I started the little packets, boom, game over.
Yeah, I bet. And I just stock up on them.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people. A lot of people are like, oh, it's only 20 milligrams. And I'm like, well, first off, you forget that the bioavailability of that 20 milligrams is a lot higher than 20 milligram gummy.
Yeah.
20 milligram gummy, you're going to get 30 to 40% of that 20 milligrams. With these, you're going to get closer to 70 to 80% of that 20 milligrams.
Yeah.
And people forget that. And so a lot of people expect, like, they're smoking, they expect that head high, from them. And I tell them, you're not going to get that head high. You're activating those CB2 receptors. Yeah. You're getting that really good full body. Like, the best way I describe it to people, like feeling you probably, is when I drink them, I just feel, damn, I feel good.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I have no term for it, but
it's refreshing.
It's refreshing.
But,
yeah.
But, to be honest with you, I'll be honest. I'm a patient, and I love this because I'm an alcoholic, and I miss that
yeah.
drink. There's that routine or habit
mm-hmm.
that everyone talks about, and it's real. But this, I don't want to say that gives it to me, but it fills that hole in a way that I feel clean.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me feel much better about what I'm doing to my body.
Yeah, you're feeding your endocannabinoid system, not destroying it.
Yes, but I'm also getting that sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as it's passing through your body, you still get that almost sense of
like when you have a drink,
buzz,
that
almost.
Like when I have a drink, like if I have a drink of alcohol, which I'm not a big drinker, which is like you're saying, the big reason why I started these was because my parents were horrible alcoholics. My dad had to have a liver transplant. It took me 6 years of convincing a transplant board that he was worthy of it because he was a past alcoholic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was only 50 years old and he was going to die. And I wasn't ready for that. You know, I had just started like really developing a relationship with him. And because my parents were divorced. And I was not losing him at 50. Like, I hadn't had kids yet. You know, I hadn't graduated college. You know, I had all of this stuff. But he had spent so many years. And my dad was not like an aggressive alcoholic or, you know, like a, you know, stereotypic stigma. You know, he wasn't like a drunk. He just casually drank every day. You know, from the time he got off work, he was a fully functional alcoholic. And, you know, and I never would have thought that just that daily drinking was going to lead to liver failure.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see that. I mean, you don't think that. You think it's just having a casual drink, you know. But that's where we got. And I mean, he got sober, and I spent 6 years in total fighting for him. And Oklahoma, the Zundi clinic here turned him down. We had to go to Dallas to even get somebody to even consider him for a transplant. And he lived 10 years, 10 sober, free, great years post-transplant. And he died from some complications from being immune suppressed. But we got 10 years. We never would have got. And so, like with my mom has a ton of medical problems. And that was the next thing. I'm like, I can't wait till she's at the point that she needs a transplant. Like, I got to figure something out now. And cannabis becoming legal, she wasn't a cannabis user before. And I was like, hey, this is going to work. It's got to work for her. And I convinced her to try it, and she's never looked back. I mean, like, she actually, you know, the other day was out with a girlfriend, and they went out to dinner, and she was like, you know, I wondered what it was like to have a cold beer. And I was like, when she said that, like, my heart dropped, you know. Yeah. And she was like, it was awful. She was like, I didn't like the way it made me feel. Yeah. You know, she was like, and I don't miss it. And she was like, but I needed that confirmation. She was like, I needed that confirmation, only being 2 years into her sobriety. Right. You know, she's like, I just needed that confirmation. And she was like, I'll take my refreshers any day over a beer. Yeah. She was like, I don't miss it. And she has, like, my kids, you know, was getting to a point where, like, my daughter, my littlest one, she didn't want to be around her. You know, because she was drunk. Yeah. You know, but she drank to, like, kill the pain to sleep at night because of all of her medical problems. And now, man, she's gardening. You know, she's doing all of these things, and it's been really great. That is so cool. But yeah, for her, that's what hers is a habit. You know, like coming home, having a hot outside, coming in, having a drink. Yeah, it's like it's refreshing for her. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, I'm super stoked that you're like a big fan. I meet people that are like fans, and it's just like, this is why I did it. Yeah. This is what I did. Like, it has a real purpose. Yeah, but it grew on me even more so. Like, it's become just something that I love to drink. I went down this past weekend. I went to the lake, and I wanted to make sure that I had some. Yeah. You know, it's one of those things. You know, I always have it with me. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for making it. I carry him with me all the time. And, you know, I told you we recently went to Kansas, and I was supposed to go on base. And I was like, oh crap, I got all these refreshers stashed in my car. You know, like all this. And I'm like, I had to realize, like, I'm in Kansas and it's not legal here. And I'm about to go onto a military base. Yeah. And it's not legal there. Uh-oh. And I told my husband, I'm like, we got to get back to the hotel. Like, but you don't think about that. No. Like, I know probably for you too, like, we live in this world. You know what I mean? And like, we understand how real and how beneficial this is to us. You know, so to me, it's normal. Yeah. Like, this is normalcy. Cannabis is totally a normal life for me. It was a normal life for me before, but really more relevant now. But it's hard to, like, break from the mindsets. Like, you know, I think about people that any other job in the world, I could work from home. Uh-huh. Any other job in the world, I could probably work from home. My tax job, I can work from home. Right. I can't take the cannabis stuff home and work from home. I can't take it and go home and label. You know, and I'm like, this is asinine. Yeah. You know, like, you can't do those, and you forget about it because you live in this world, and it's so normal, and it's so healthy for us, and it's like vital to some of our health, you know, like, with anxiety or seizures, or, there's some things that, like, you need to have it on you.
Yeah.
And we're so confined by our state line.
It reminds me of, I mean, it's not just cannabis, though. It's like, if you go back and think about things, about just good things for people, positive things, good prevails. And there's a reason why people say that. It's because it does.
Yeah.
And whenever you have something good in front of you and it's good to everybody that's involved, there's no denying it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes normal, And so that's what it's done for us. We've opened our minds up to something that we can actually see how good it is to everybody, how many people can benefit from this, that it's become acceptable and normal and almost asinine that it's not to anyone else.
Yeah.
And so it's you're in the spot to where you're like, now do I talk shit about these people because they don't know? Or do I try to be patient and understand that it's going to take them time to accept it and learn it? And we have to remember that. Yeah. We have to remember, 4 years ago, Uncle Bob didn't know what a cannabinoid was. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've come a long way.
I try to educate a lot.
And so it's like, I know I sound preachy right now, but it's like good prevails. It has to.
But it's hard because, one, we still live in this, like, outside of our world, outside of our cannabis world, we still live in this highly stigmatized world of cannabis. I'm having a conversation with my brother, and he's been, kind of military life. He lives in a totally different world than I do. And like I hear him, and he's like, weed, and I'm like, if you only knew. But it's still that educational, but then it's still the weirdness, like, even with having kids in school. Mm-hmm. Like I still am pretty private about I'm private about the business in my home life, like out in the terms of like my children's social lives, their school and things like that, because at my daughter's school we have she has an extremely reefer madness counselor. That my daughter, like, it upsets her, and it's not fair that my daughter goes to school and they tell her that literally told them, you could drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes, which will kill you over time, but you could die the first time you try marijuana.
Right. That's ridiculous.
My daughter knows. Like, my daughter, the last day of school, like, so that was like mid-school, and she was devastated. She came home and she was like, Mom, why would he say this? And I'm like, because he's uneducated. And I explained to her all the way back from the prohibition of cannabis, and it's linked to timber, and like people wanting to, like, those Rockefeller and them wanting to push pulp from trees. Yeah. And that was a part of the big push for ending cannabis and hemp. But I had to educate her about it, and then it was really sad. The last day of school, she came to me and she was really upset, and one of her teachers, she's seen, I'll give you a little had some family members that's fought cancer with it recently. Mm-hmm. And aside from my mom, who's broke free from alcoholism, we had some family members fighting cancer. And she's had a little best friend whose mom has been fighting cancer. She was given 3 months to live, stage 4 cancer, same age as, right around our age, was not supposed to live. Mm-hmm. And here she is, like, she's got an itty bitty little bit of cancer left. And she used like a high CBD FICO and a high THC FICO, like, throughout the day. And she's killing it. She's killing the cancer. And so my daughter's seen this, and one of her teachers was upset because somebody in her family had been diagnosed with cancer. And Mace was like, Mom, I really want to talk to her about cannabis, but I know school's not an appropriate place. And like, how do you do that? Like, my kid with her innocence, like, we don't like push this on them. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she sees what good it's done out of the innocent eyes of my daughter, who's never used any kind of cannabis product in her life. She doesn't know. She's only seen the effects it's had on her family members.
Yes.
You know? And she's like, I want to talk to her about it. Like, I really want to tell her.
Yes.
And she's like, but I understand that it's not appropriate. And I mean, this is a 9-year-old who understands that she can't talk to her teacher about the benefits of cannabis or what she's seen and say, hey, you should look into this, because she doesn't want to get in trouble. And it's sad.
To me, I mean, I would ask the question, how do we make it appropriate?
Yeah.
How do we make them understand, our children, not our teachers, understand that it is appropriate?
Yeah.
And that's how we go about it. We can't change someone's mind. They're closed-minded or whatever. They may change their mind, but we can't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do we do that?
That's what I told her. Like, I appreciate that she understands it.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate that my daughter sees that good that is in it, you know. But our kids are going to be, like, they're future leaders of this world. And I see our kids every day becoming more and more open-minded. Mm-hmm. You know, like, we grew up in a different generation to where what we seen and heard and what we were told how to live, you know, and I try to raise my kids to choose how they want to live, if that makes sense. You know, because we, you know, my oldest daughter, we had adopted her, and you know, her dad was very much, prior to us, like, he told her what was truth. He told her how she was going to live. You know, he told her.
Dictate. And
she moves in with us, and she goes to college, and she comes home, and she has this revelation, you know, and she's like, I think I really like cannabis, and I'm not really sure if I believe in God, and, you know, and I'm like, and
you're like going the all the way
and
over
I'm like,
to
okay.
the other pin.
I'm like, okay, and she's like, you're not mad? Why would I be mad?
It's you.
Why? Like, I want you to find you. Like, find who you want to be in this world.
Yeah.
Like, find what you believe in and why you believe in that. You know? And so she's had this, like, opportunity, and she's kind of like, what? I get to think how I want to think? And I think that's what we need to do with our kids, you know? Like, we need to teach our children to be who they want to be. You know, like, when my daughters are quirky and they get embarrassed, I'm like, why are you embarrassed? Be you.
Yes.
Be you. If that means you wear, like, there was like a May 4th, you know, May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
My daughter had like a space uniform on, and she's like, wanted to wear it to school. Wear it. And she's like, what? Wear it.
Wear whatever you want. That's
be you.
Great.
Like, that's it. Be you.
Yes.
You know? But then I kind of feel bad because I don't feel that I get to be me so much in public sense, like with my kids' school and some of our friends and our family social life. You know, like, I have family that if they knew and really understood, and my daughters have friends, they would probably never let their daughters talk to me again.
You know, you should just be you.
I know. Damn it, James. I know.
Listen to me. Be you.
I know.
Wear that Star Wars uniform.
Yeah. Just be me. And that's the thing is, like, it's a conflict.
I tell people to do things.
It's a conflict because I am, like, I tell people I'm the same person whether I'm meeting the president or the Pope or I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the same person, but I can't be that loud of an advocate I feel in my life that I want to be.
Right.
For cannabis.
And is
it because it's a struggle.
Is it because that you feel like you would be judged, or
no, my kids?
You don't want your kids to be judged. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I know that my kids have friendships that they just absolutely adore.
Yes.
You know, and I know some of those parents would not let their kids be friends with my daughter if they knew. And how crazy is that? That's like me being like, oh, you work at a casino. I don't agree with casinos. So it's my profession. You know, it's something that I care about. Like, and everything we do has a purpose. Every product we make, we focus on medicinal side of things. Like, everything we do has a purpose and a reason. But unfortunately, even though 57% of us voted for this, there's still a large portion of people that don't understand it. And I think we have to find more ways to break those barriers and understanding. You know, our legislators don't understand what we are doing because all they hear is all of the chatter from this loud lobbyist, the big money, the big lobbyist. They hear that, and they don't really see the retired science teacher who now has a cannabis company.
Yeah.
They don't see these dying farms that were losing their ass in crops, that now have a new crop that they've been able to save their homestead. I know farmers whose farms had been mortgaged to the hilt, because their crop wasn't making it. And now they've been able to save their family home, save their farmland. They didn't have to sell it off because of cannabis. I know military and police vets that have a purpose again with a transport company. But they're not seeing that. Our legislators and the general population aren't seeing that. I know people that, I think of it like we have small mom and pop dispensaries that are no different than somebody opening their dreams of having a bookstore or maybe a little boutique shop or a restaurant. They've put their life into this.
Right.
And we have these large lobbyists lobbying for higher fees, our licensing fees. That was a hell of a battle. I don't know if you followed a lot of that,
yeah.
But trying to go from $2,500, which opened the door for us. We come from the farmer's market. My business partner, she had Mittie's Kitchen, and she made jams and jellies and sold it all at the farmer's market.
Right.
Well, when COVID happened, we lost all of that. Luckily we had started the cannabis and we were able to just run with that. But there's so many people in that industry that had these greenhouses with nothing to do.
Lost everything.
And cannabis brought that back.
Yeah.
It's not about, but it brought those dreams. And I tell people all the time, would you trust your fruit from a big box store or the farmer's market?
Yeah, I understand.
Because
I agree.
That's how it is with cannabis. Most of the people that I talk to, they want to buy from local, they want to buy from small mom and pops because they trust what they do.
Yes.
Just like the farmer's market mentality, and that's what people want. But we have, people pushing for all these, Metric has unfortunately just killed so many small mom and pops. I understand the need for the seed to sale tracking. I understand that, but OMA needs to come down to the real playing field, the real gems of the cannabis industry, the small mom and pops. They've got to work on regulations that favor small mom and pops.
Yeah.
Because we truly are the heart of it. The only reason people are pushing hard at the Capitol for higher fees is because they're losing their asses to mom and pops. Any dispensary, look at cookies. I respect Burner, respect all of that. But look at cookies.
Okay.
If you look at cookies versus a small mom and pop, probably 8 out of 10 people are going to go to the mom and pop. You know why they go to the mom and pop? Because they know them. They know their name. They know what product they like. They have that personability. You
Right.
know as well as I do. Go into Local Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
They know you. They know who you are. They know what you like to buy. They know everything there is to know about you.
Yes.
Even you can go in down here to the brick house. They know. But you go into cookies, they don't care. Some of these, I wouldn't say necessarily cookies, but I mean bigger corporate companies.
Right, and to put it into perspective, have you gone to Lowe's lately
No.
and asked anyone there for anything? If you want an adventure, go for it. I mean, it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Okay, what you're talking about. So Walmart comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
employs
mass produce.
some people
Yeah.
to give them a paycheck, and hopefully they watch the training videos.
Yeah. And that is
What
like
you're saying.
large corporate companies. Yeah, these corporate companies, they come in, they employ people and then do all of this great thing to give, but they don't necessarily care as much about the end users.
Yeah.
Every product that we make, and I can speak for us and many other, processors or growers that I know, they literally pour their life into that. I know growers that care about the strain they grow. They care about the terpenes that come from it. Everything, they want it to be clean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's us. We're small batch, high quality. That's what we care about because we care about that end user.
Mm-hmm.
But you get these large companies, large corporate companies, they don't care. They don't care about the product. They just care about selling the product. you know? And the same with those big dispensaries. Like, they don't always care about, and I'm gonna blanket that. I don't want nobody to be like, oh, she's all against us. But I'm just saying in general, you know, most people want that personability.
Sure.
And Oklahomans, they like that. I meet patients that are like, oh, I go in there and they know.
Yes.
No, Johnny Sue knows exactly what I like. And that's what they want. They want to be important, and they are important.
Yes.
They are important. That's why most people go to like a small town pharmacy over a big box store pharmacy, because that pharmacist knows what medications they're on. They pay attention, you know, they have that personability. And when we were going through all this stuff, I wrote all these legislators, you know, I was sending out, you know, emails like to remember us. Like, we really truly are the heart of 788.
Yeah.
Like, us small companies are the heart of 788, and we get overshadowed, you know. And that one legislator, Garvin, she had said, I'm getting requests for $15,000 fees. From who? Because I'm pretty sure none of us small guys are requesting $15,000 fees.
Oh my gosh.
But I get it. I get it. You know, I know you've talked about like advertising with beer and things like that, you know. Like, you get it. Like, it's those big companies have a lot of power. Money talks.
Yes, it does. And it's very, very hard to not allow, I mean, you have to navigate your way through this world in that environment, and you have to stand for something, you know. There is something to that. There will always be something to that, in my point of view, to stand for something.
Yeah.
And that may be the downfall of me one day.
Same here.
But so be it.
Yeah. But I went out, like, regardless. That's what
Yeah.
I navigate this business. You know, I come from the tax world, and I navigate this business.
Which side of the tax world? I'm just kidding.
I just file it.
Were you collecting money?
I didn't collect the money.
Okay.
I just
all right.
told you how much you had to pay in. But, you know, I run this business, like, wholly authentically to who I am. You know, like, I like to go to, like, the throwdowns because I want to meet with patients.
Right.
You know, like, I don't do it because I don't want to be an influencer or anything like that, like, because it really makes me uncomfortable. But I want to meet them. Mm-hmm. I want to hear their stories, whether it's good or bad. I want to hear from them because we make our products for them.
Yes.
We don't make them because of money. Because if you're in this industry for money, you might as well find a new career because it's not there.
Yeah.
But I do it because I'm passionate about it, you know? And that's what these small businesses are like mom and pop dispensaries.
That's super interesting for you, just to, you know, have discussions with them about it.
I love it.
Yeah, your backstory and the way that you are, your personality, all of that. You seem like you would be you'd want to inquire a lot.
I do.
So.
I just want to hug them. You know, I am. I love to hug people. Like, I tell people, like, hugs for me is like a really good, strong hug is like what holds all those little broken pieces together for a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Like, if you squeeze it back together, it just gives you that little extra. And, but I love meeting people, you know, like, I love the opportunity that I get with that, or pop-ups. You know, I know that there's some companies that, like, charge to do pop-ups and things, but, you know, I don't know, I do it because I want to meet the people.
Yeah. Like,
I want to tell them about it, you know, I want to talk to them about our products. Like, I want to meet the people. I want to hear their stories. Like, I don't know if you know Christian Stark. I met her at the first throwdown. And she does a little bit of stuff for us too, and now. But she came up to me and, like, gave me her testimony. Yeah. And I mean, I was like, I just felt like in this totally different world. Like, she came in and she was like, oh, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, you know. And she tells me this testimony about her daughter and what it does for her daughter. Her daughter has a feeding tube, and she uses the refreshers through there, and how it loosens her up, and, like, just so much stuff that it helps her with. And man, like, hearing that story and hearing her testimony, it changes everything for me. It makes you sleep good at night. It does. It changes everything for me. Oh my gosh. You know, like, it's one of those things that it's like, I'm doing this for the right reason.
Yeah.
There's so much in the
so
world
cool.
that can tell us that we're not doing this for the right reason.
Yes.
But then when you hear from the people,
Right.
I know I'm doing it for the right reason. You know, and I have, like, I know it's the right thing. When I've got, there's a family that has an autistic child, and they can't get him to eat gummies, you know, or any of the other candies. And he loves the lemonade refreshers.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves them. And I'm just like, yes. And those parents talk about, like, how much, you know, it's helped their lives and things like that, you know. And I'm like, I'm doing this for the right reason.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
But it's hard. It's a hard business. It's not something that, you know, a lot of people think, oh, the cannabis. It's not. I literally live this job.
Have you been in front of any of your patients whenever, like, maybe there's a seizure or something happening?
No.
Have you experienced that?
Mm-mm.
It's hard.
Yeah. Now, I've been around it. I come from special education. I've spent a lot of time in special education.
Yeah.
So my mom, growing up, that's what a lot she did. And then when I moved back here to Oklahoma, I worked at, like, Faith 7, and I worked at the schools. And I was a para at the school for a long time. And so I've, you know, been connected. And we have a really good friend and her son, and he's a big reason a lot of our products were developed as well. Like Logan's phenomenal kid, you know, like, love him to death. He's actually, like, my age, but I still, you know, he was one of my students in school. But and his mom, but she's sober. His mom's sober now because of the refreshers, and they help him. You know, and I know she won't mind me saying this, but, you know, Logan overpowers her. He's bigger than her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's strong, and sometimes he has you know, difficulties. You know, he has days where he has a really rough day and doesn't necessarily know how to, like, channel those, you know, like us, we know how to channel those moods, you know, and he doesn't know how to channel them. So sometimes he'll have, like, you know, bad days, and she gives him a refresher, and he calms down, and he's happy. He's still coherent, and he's happy, and she's not pumping him full of pharmaceuticals.
That's great.
You know, but coming from that side, get off sidetracked, but coming from special education, you know, like, that has a big piece of my heart to why we do some of the things we do.
I can totally see that about you. I didn't know that about your past.
James, I've done so much. Special education to tax to, like, I can tell anything you want to know about liver transplants and liver failure. Okay. I can talk to you a whole lot about those kind of things. But I've just, you know, done a lot of different things. I have a lot of passions. But I think it's just part of us living life and who we want to be. Yeah. You know? Like, I don't like to be stuck in one single world.
Right.
You know, like, I don't want to just be like, 9 to 5, I wake up and I do this and I go here and I stay in my own. I love the world. Like,
yes.
Everything.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We're very kindred spirits. You know that? I think I've had, like, 30 different jobs in my life.
Yeah. I just want to know it all. I just want to experience it all. I'm not good at all of it. And I'm not going to ever tell anybody I'm good at it all. You know, but it helps to be able to, like, see the other side of things.
It does.
You know, we so much think, like, the world is not black and white. The world is, like, there's so much more to the world, and there's so many more perspectives and so many more views, and I want to see it all. You know, if I'm going to live this life, I want to live it.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I want to see everything, and I want to understand, you know, from all sides of it.
Yeah, I was always that kid. Okay, I played video games whenever I was a kid. You know, I was one of those kids that everybody was like, no, don't let them play, you know, back in the day. I always wanted to go further and further and further, and that's all what I've always wanted to do in life. I've always wanted to see the other side of the mountain. I've always wanted to see the other side, always, and I still do. And I don't understand how other people don't, because it's so eye-opening. Like you say, you completely are able to, at least, it's not like you know everything. No. Not at all. You know nothing.
Yeah.
but you're able to accept it as it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
You know, or
the world's bigger.
Right. Yeah. It's a different mentality.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, with cannabis, like, I feel like I finally found a community of people that are like-minded like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, we've met a ton of people that share that similar view on life as us, and, you know, and it's beautiful. Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful. Like, the community. Now, there's some groups or whatever that are, you know, purely business focused in cannabis. But I think we've got a really incredible network and group of people that are not just business focused. Like, we're really community focused.
Right. I think so too. And I think it has a lot to do with the people that you surround yourself with, you know, just like anything else. Because, I mean, I work in media, so I talk to a lot of different people, a lot of different groups, whatever you want to call it. And I haven't really ran into the dirty, like what people may put into people's heads.
Yeah.
You know, there's cutthroat, there's dog eat dog, but that's business.
Yeah, people constantly ask me, like,
there's no man in a dark hat.
Somewhere
that I've met.
So one of my favorite songs, like, growing up, my dad, I don't know if you've ever listened to The Pusher by Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's one of my favorite songs is The Pusher. And it's so relevant because you have the pusher and then you have the dealer. You know, like, the dealer was just cannabis, you know, like, things like that. And the pushing man is, like, pushing the hardcore drugs, like the drugs that are killing people.
Yes.
You know, and that song always resonated with me because, you know, I listen to that and I think about that in this industry. Like, we don't have the pusher man.
We don't.
The pusher man's not in the cannabis industry. You know, like, it's not out there trying to kill people. No, you know, and pushing on something that's going to kill you. Like, it's not on there. You know, but then you've got the pusher man, though. You've got Big Pharma, to me, is a lot like the pusher man.
Yeah.
You know, like, they push these products
there you go.
that sometimes are worse than, you know, but we believe that. We believe that these products, because these big people tell us, and they have all of this propaganda, and they've got all these advertising, and they've got all of this behind it. But if you ever really sit down and read the fine black and white print and the warnings, you know, like, we're just pumping ourselves full of poison.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they work in conjunction, you know, there's a lot of medicine we got to have. But they're the damn pusher man, man.
Right, yeah, they are the pusher man. I mean, that's why there's SNL skits about it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's just all a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
And legalities.
Yeah.
Logistics.
And it's hard for me. It's hard with cannabis not being federally legal.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Because it's hard because, like we talked about earlier, like, I get into my ways to where I'm like,
yeah, I want to go.
I want to go. I want to go here. I want to go there. I want to, you know, I can't go on vacation out of state and take medicine with me.
Legally.
If I do, legally. And then I'm like, I have my kids with me. Like, I can't get in trouble.
I know.
But why should I get in trouble?
It's so ridiculous. And, you know, as a parent, you know, I know your children are probably like this. They realize it's part of your life. Mm-hmm. And whenever it's taken away and you use it as medicine, something is going to give. And they know this.
Yeah.
They want you to be on that medicine as well. So it's like there's this whole vibe thing that's killed. You don't even want to go on vacation at that point because you know it's going to be terrible.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's not.
You know.
No, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I get that.
Demons come into your head and you're like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When it shouldn't. You should just be able to go across state lines and travel with your children.
Yeah.
And enjoy yourself.
That's my kids. My kids, you know, they see, you know, like, everybody, we're all hanging out, you know, and they're like, everybody's happy and they're go-lucky and everybody's having a great time. But they see in the world when everybody, you know, and I know people consume alcohol and some of it's socially, but as anything, it can be abused.
Yeah.
Anything can be abused. You know, cannabis, anything and everything can be abused. But my kids have had some scary moments in their life. with alcohol. They've witnessed some scary moments. They've witnessed my 14-year-old. We had adopted her, and she went through a lot of trauma when she was younger due to opioids, meth, and, you know, all of that. Like, she's seen a lot of really ugly, scary stuff.
Yeah. And
she's seen a lot of people, and like, my kids notice. I talk to my kids about sales. I talk to them about money. Like, I'm a total open book with my kids, right? And I've told them lately, you know, it's been slow everywhere. Everybody I talk to, like, the industry's slow. And I notice it's slow right now because of the economy. But it's slow when it's back to school. It's slow when it's Christmas time. It's slow when you have all these major holidays. And what people don't realize is the reason it's slow is because it's different. It's not like some of your drugs like meth or opioids or heroin, to where they will spend every dollar that their family has for that.
Yeah.
It's not like that with cannabis.
Right.
And we see it. We've seen it for 4 years now. We've seen when it's back to school, parents are spending that disposable income on their children.
Yes.
Summertime, you know, Christmas time, they're spending that. And you can look at the sales across the board. During those times, parents are spending that disposable income on their families and their needs. They're not spending it because they have to have their cannabis. It's an addiction. They've got to have it. That's not happening.
Is that data available?
I don't know, but I monitor it with mine.
Yeah. I mean,
but
because that's
it's
a
so
very
true.
interesting-
It is.
Because it tells you right there that the priorities are different.
Yeah. The cannabis, like, people think that, oh, they're just going to spend all their money on the marijuana.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, I'm pretty sure most of my patients, because my sales dip down
Right.
every single year around those times. Every year.
Mm-hmm.
And every dispensary I talk to does too. And it's because of that, you know? And it's not this harmful beast that people think of it is. But, you know, I've lost so many family and friends to opioids.
Yes.
And, you know, my dad struggled, and I've never had like an addictive personality. And it was really hard for me to understand how they could be so consumed with that need. You know, like, I never understood, like, this demon inside of my dad. You know, like, it was a demon in my dad. Like, addiction fueled so much. Like, our lives revolved around that. You know, and it never did with cannabis.
Yeah.
You know, but with that, I mean, like, he had to have it, and he would spend this money that he didn't have. And I've got, like, friends who I've seen them be the best moms in the whole wide world. You know, like, people that, like, I admired, and they got an accident, and they got started on pain meds.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it only fueled their addictions with that, and it held them prisoner. And now they don't have their children, and they are like, I know they love their kids.
Yes.
I know they love their kids, but there is something about it that just takes a hold of them, and they can't see anything else.
Yes.
You know, and I don't see that with cannabis. If I seen that with cannabis, to where it was like destroying people's lives, I would not be in this business.
Right.
And, you know, I
can tell you. Do you mind if I tell you something about that?
No.
Personal? I agree with you completely. And I've used cannabis myself to not use alcohol. And you can't replace it. You can't replace that. It's not the alcohol. It's the addiction. And it's a mental thing for some people. It's not. I'm not saying that blanket for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. I think I know what you're talking about. It's that hole that needs to be filled with whatever it is, that addiction thing. So I do want to say that I myself firmly believe that cannabis is not addictive, because I am a very I get addicted to the way I put my money in my wallet. Okay, it takes me sometimes an hour and a half to leave my house because of certain things that I have to do, because I'm addicted. I have a very addictive personality, but I cannot fill that hole with cannabis.
Yeah.
I've tried.
It's just not. It doesn't have that addictive quality to it.
But it helps.
Yeah.
And but it's not addictive. I can tell you that. Not to me.
And I don't know. And I mean, that was my dad. Like, he'd go through these spells growing up. Like, that's where heavy heads comes from. That was my dad. He was a heavy head, and everybody was a heavy head. If you smoked pot, you were a heavy head. And like, I honestly thought that was like probably in like whatever Urban Dictionary was heavy heads. I thought it was a common term. It wasn't until like later on that I realized it was just my dad's term, but it was so fitting, But
your dad sounds so cool.
He was the coolest dude in the whole world. He was a pain in the fucking ass, but he was the coolest dude. Like, he was. But I mean, like, for him, we'd go through these spells to where stuff would get tight. Dealers didn't have any. He'd have to go on these dry spells for a while, but it never really affected our lives. Yeah. It wasn't something that was like our world was turned upside down because Dad didn't have pot. Right. And whether that was because he fueled it with other addictions, I don't know, but he didn't ever have this addictive personality to cannabis. Like, even more so, he was more addicted to and struggled more with cigarettes than he ever did not smoking cannabis. Like, he would be like, he could never quit smoking cigarettes, but he could go 6 months or so without cannabis and he was fine. Yeah. Which showed to me, and I'm very much like that. Like, I like to sit back and reanalyze what I'm doing in this industry and who I am and all of that a lot, because I never want to be blinded into believing that what I'm doing is the right way and there is no other way. Yeah. And there's so much of that in the world, and I think when we get to a point to where we can't see some other person's side of it, we can't see somebody else's view, then we're too far in. And I never want to be that way. Whether it be politics or cannabis or anything, if I can't sit back and rationalize for the other side that disagree with me, if I can't understand their reasonings and I can't rationalize, then this subject has consumed me too far. I mean, does that make sense?
It does make sense to a point. I mean, I would venture to probably say that you would at least try to accept their way.
But think about like cult-like. Yeah. They get into a place where what they know is gold, and there is no other way but that.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like many people get so distracted they think
blinders.
If you're blinded, like you can't even rationalize or even remotely, like you won't take the time to listen to another person's views. When you come to that point, there's something wrong.
Yes.
And so for me, I try not to ever get that way. If I ever come to a place to where I'm like, oh no, I can't even rationalize with you. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, I don't even want to hear your side because I know there's no way it could be true. Mm-hmm. And so I step back. If I ever feel that way, I step back and really look at it, because I never want to be blinded like that. I never want to be so hyper-focused on one thing that I can't see what's really happening around me. And so I do that with cannabis a lot. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, no, I'm still doing the right thing.
You're still pro.
I'm still pro. I'm still doing the right thing. But I do that sometimes, and that's the problem, is we have so many people who become so strong in these beliefs against cannabis or anything else that they don't take the time to listen to another person's side of it. Yeah. And that's scary to me. It's scary when we can't even open our minds to hear other sides of it. And so I do a lot of that. I have a lot of friends who are not cannabis. I sat down with some family that were, they're very involved in their church and things like that. And I sat down with them and I wanted to hear their perspectives. I wanted to hear what they thought about cannabis. Mm-hmm. I wanted to hear what scares them about it. And I want to hear that side of it. Right. And you have to be able to be open and listen to those people if you're ever going to break through. Because those are the people we can reach. But if you don't sit there and listen to them, they're not going to listen to us. You know?
No, I agree.
I don't know where I was going with that shit.
No, it doesn't
matter. I just start rambling. I was like, hey, yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're going with it. But it's
I'm
a good
just
point.
saying, we got to be that way. Like I sit up here and I can talk about cannabis and I can be very proactive about cannabis but I also want to make sure that I understand other people's fears and concerns, because if I'm not hearing them, they're never going to hear me. And I think that's my point, is if we don't listen to their fears and concerns, they're never going to hear ours.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to be really proactive like that.
Yeah, we have to be, I think another thing that we have to be too is forgiving to ourselves whenever we don't.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody falls into believing that what they are doing and saying and firmly passionate about is the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's a human. It's human. So we have to not walk on eggshells constantly, but we also have to, you know, we have to be accountable.
Yeah.
For sure. Anyway, I like your points. Don't ever apologize for making a point.
Well, you know, I can ramble, like, just go on. I have so many different, I love life. You know what I mean? I love philosophy. I love life. Like, I just love to look at things and think about things a lot deeper. And, you know, you get a little refresher in you, and you're so relaxed, and you're like, let's just ramble about this for a little bit.
I know, like, I was glad that we're, for Feminine Divine.
Yeah.
That we've named you for Feminine Divine.
I'm scared.
With Herbage. Well, you represent everything. That you know, we want that to portray, you know, and you're such a strong community person, and you're just a strong person, strong individual altogether.
It's hard.
Everybody, I swear, and I'm not kissing your butt, like, you gotta meet Tessy, or like whenever I go around, you gotta meet Tessy. Have you ever, you know, I'm like, yeah, I know who Tessy is. They're like, oh, she's great, you know.
I ran into somebody recently, and that's what I had my refresher shirt on, and he was like, oh, do you like those? And I'm like, yeah, pretty close to them. Like, I have a pretty strong relationship with the refreshers, you know, I developed them, you know, and it was weird, you know, and I was like, I actually own the company, and he was like, what? Really? He was like, I just discovered, he actually got him a brick house. He was like, I just discovered these. I met him in the city, and he was like, these are amazing. Like, I've just never seen anything like it. But that's weird for me. Like, I'm not, like...
It's awesome.
It's weird. When people, like...
It's
I don't know.
It's weird.
I don't know. It kind of freaks me out sometimes. Like, I don't want to be famous. I don't know.
No,
it's
weird. Good that it's weird for you, because that means that you're excited about it, right?
Yeah.
It's
very
exciting.
humbling.
It's fun, you know?
Yeah.
People know your product because it's good.
I used to look when we first started there's all these brands that I'm like, you know, like fandom about. Oh my God, I gotta meet so and so, you know. And then we're 3 years in, and when I meet people that are like that with me, you know, and I'm like, what? Why are you being so weird? You know, like, why are you getting so giddy? Like, I had a girl like really totally fan girl out, and I was like, listen, I'm not any different than you are. Like, it's okay. Like, I admire the way that you know what it's very humbling.
Right.
But I'm just an everyday folk like you.
But.
Because I really am. I'm just an everyday poor folk like everybody else.
But that's the cool thing. You are that. That's who you are. You're authentically Tessy.
Yeah.
And you happen to own Mitties Medicinals.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's
weird.
It's great.
It's weird. It's weird.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I look at, you know, growing up, I used to want to be on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. So bad.
Yes.
Like, I would dress up at home and, like, do all this quirky stuff and just be ridiculous, you know? And I used to want to be on Saturday Night Live. And, like, I look at some people, and they get out there and they make videos, and that's so great. And I'm like, oh, I should do that. But then I'm like, no.
You should.
I know. Like, I always want to be, like, weird and do that. And then I'm like, no, maybe not. But then now, like, with the business and stuff, it's super weird because I have people that know me and come up to me. Like, I was dropping off at a dispensary, and some patient came in and was like, oh, it's Mitties. And I'm like,
yeah.
Me? You talking about me? You know,
the thing
it's weird.
It would be different if you like walked in and somebody did that and you're like, that's right. You know, nobody would like that.
No, it's not me.
And you're not like that. And everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's weird, you know. And my kids, you know, we take our kids and they're pretty involved with us and go do stuff and they're like, everybody knows you, Mom. And I'm like, I know, isn't it strange?
That's so cool.
But, you know.
Do they think you're cool?
My kids?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they do.
They're like, everybody knows my mom.
Yeah, I don't know. They seem to, like, my kids, I think they're proud of me. I think they are.
How old are your kids?
9, 14, 20, and 21.
Okay.
But I worried, like, you know, but I think they're proud. Like, I think that they're proud that I'm being who I am, you know?
They should be.
And they've really seen it. I try not to be, like, I don't hide anything from my kids.
Yeah.
I never hid stuff. Whether, I mean, it's from everything from, like, health to financial to the business to everything. Like, I don't hide that from my kids. I didn't grow up in a family that hid stuff from us. My dad never hid smoking pot. Like, I was jealous of my dad, like, the attention, you know, I didn't get to see him a lot. I, like, made him an ashtray with my name in it, you know, like, I wrote my name. It was like, every time you smoke your marijuana, you can think about me, you know, but I was a kid of a, like, divorced family, but my parents never hid anything for me, but it was important for me growing up because I was always exposed. I've been on my own since I was 16. My mom had a health issue that put her in the hospital a long time, and we lost her home. And my dad was here, and he had another little family, and I was up there in Ohio. And, you know, I've been on my own since I was 16. And I would have never made it on my own if my parents would have hid stuff from me. Like, I understood the struggles financially. I understood, you know, like, having to, like, cut back and make, you know, I understood all of that. And that's why I don't hide things from my kids, you know. And I've got friends who grew up in, like, super sheltered homes. And they get out there and they're like, wow, the world is so much bigger, you know, and they don't see that. And so I don't do that with them.
You know, I mean, I read a book before my little guy. He's 7 now. And it was before he was born. And I think I made a mistake. Because, I was brought up that way too. I was brought up very, very open about everything and finances. And it helped me. It helped me navigate my way through a lot, you know, hitting out of the rough constantly. And I hide finances from my son. I don't hide anything else, but I hide finances from him because I'm worried that it would damage or make him be skewed of the world rather than, or think that money was a priority.
Yeah, no.
I need to reevaluate for a second.
Well, I think about it like this. Like, you know, we make decisions together.
Yeah.
You know, we go to the store and they are very naturally like, oh, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And I'm like, hey, guys, let's think about this.
Yeah.
You know, like, we do got to make some priorities. You know, we can't get, and I make them work for it. You know, I'll be like, all right, guys, like, if these are really what you're wanting, like, you need to do these chores, and you need to earn that, you know, because I want them to know, God forbid if something happens to me before they're grown, I want them to understand how to make it, you know, and they're not going to understand if they make it. You know, I had a good friend who, her parents took them on vacations every year. They lived this glamorous lifestyle that she thought, and then they filed bankruptcy, and they lost everything. And it was such a shock to her. You know, it's such a shock to her family because she didn't realize that they were giving this exorbitant life through credit cards and debt. You know, and I don't ever want my kids to be blindsided by something like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and, you know, or like, I know some people when GM shut down. I had a friend that worked in, like, they lost everything when GM shut down. And they lived this really incredible lifestyle, but they lost it all. And it was so devastating for her as a kid because here they went from living this way to living this way, you know, and they didn't understand what happened because why is mom and dad buying me everything I want, but now they won't buy me anything? And we don't have anything, you know? And so for me, I'm very much with the kids. Like we went to Kansas this weekend to see my brother, and you know, I'm like, hey, we got these snacks that we're gonna pack, and we're gonna buy some soda, and we're gonna put it in here, and you know, we're gonna save money, and we're gonna do this and this. But it's been good for my kids. Like they've been making some jewelry and to sell it, and them understanding like, hey, you know, this amount of money I fronted for you to buy your materials, so now you need to make the money back, and X amount of money needs to go back to repaying me, and then you can buy more materials to continue to grow. And through having this business, I get to show my kids that.
Yeah.
You know, I get to let my kids be involved in understanding, because everything that we get right now, we put back into the business. Right. Because we didn't start off with a bunch of money. We started off with $5,000 in savings. Mm-hmm. We were able to get like our first pound and our license, you know.
Such a common story, isn't it?
And that's the thing that a lot of people forget about us. Yep. You know. We didn't have money, so I don't have pre-printed labeling. I make that, you know, like I don't have the money to just go and have this packaging pre-printed and hope to goodness that the OMA and them don't change the regulations on me requiring something else.
Yes.
So everything we do goes back into the business. Mm-hmm. And I want my kids to see that. You know, I want them to see that, hey, we've got to do this to get to here. We've got to do this step to get to here. You know, in just their everyday life. Just doesn't matter whether it's the business or if it's their jewelry business or if it's going on vacation.
You're raising little entrepreneurs.
I'm trying to raise kids that are more open-minded.
Yes.
Not just that, but I want to raise kids that are more understanding and open-minded. Like mental health, mental illness. Right. Runs strong, you know, throughout our surroundings in our life. You know, and that's another thing. Like my husband, he grew up very shielded from mental illness. You know, it was very stigmatized. It was an elephant in the room. Like they had suicide in their family, but it was quieted down. I lost my brother, and he was the night before his 19th birthday to suicide. And I want my kids to see all of that. You know, I want my kids to understand that mental illness doesn't have to be a secret.
Yeah.
It's no different than, you know, taking medication for mental illness or anything is no different than taking medication for diabetes or anything else. Like, it's a real illness. And I want my kids to see that.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter recently lost her best friend to suicide. She's only 14. And he had reached out to her, and she knew he was struggling, and she was afraid. She's only 14. She was afraid.
Yes.
You know, and she went through a lot of trauma when that happened, which brought up trauma from her childhood. You know, because I adopted her through DHS, and it brought up a lot of trauma. Right. And I felt bad for not being more open with her and not giving her a platform to say, hey, Mom, my friend's really struggling. Yeah. You know, and so since then, I'm now like, hey, honey, like, don't ever be afraid. Don't be afraid to tell me, you know, that, and, you know, I try really hard, and, like, that was a huge eye-opener for me. Like, what I'm doing is the right thing. Having these open lives with my kids is the right thing.
Yes.
You know, and I wish she wouldn't have been afraid to tell me, you know, because, and I'm like, I kick myself like, God, I should have let her know that it's a safe place. No matter what the conversation is, it's a safe place, you know. And I recently, like, her dad had some beer in the fridge, and she, like, snuck 2 of them, you know, kids. And she came home. She had, like, gone to church with her friend. And she came home, and, like, I had already messaged. She knew that I knew. And while I wasn't entirely, like, outrageously upset, because, I mean, I was drinking Zimas with Jolly Ranchers in it at her age, you know. Yeah. But I needed her to understand that the fact that she hid that, and, you know, like, I didn't condone it in the first place. But I needed her to understand. So, like, she knew, and she was, like, coming in the door already, like, in tears. And I think she expected something totally different, but instead I had a conversation with her. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't, how dare you? Right. You know, yeah, I was like, why do we make that decision? Yeah. What was your rationale behind wanting to drink these? Yes. And she said, she said that somebody told her that it takes the pain away. And drinking alcohol helps them take the pain away. And she's been struggling, after the suicide. And she said, and I wanted to take the pain away. She came in the door and I said, "You're grounded out there, you."
Yes.
Whoop her ass or whatever, because, sometimes
They just ran to her room.
She would have ran to her room and I wouldn't have known. And she said, "I've been having nightmares. I've been having really bad nightmares, and I thought, maybe if it takes their pain away, maybe it'll take mine." And so I had a conversation with her about, her papa and him having a liver transplant, and about, you've seen your moo-moo, was what we call her grandma. I'm like, you've seen your moo-moo battle alcoholism. You've seen it, and you've seen how she was, and you've seen how greater your relationship is now that she's not. Do you feel like it numbed her pain? She was like, no. And I'm like, it doesn't numb her pain all the time. Mm-hmm. It gives us that moment where we don't think about it, but it comes back.
Yeah.
But I feel like having that open life, she was able to actually talk to me about it, and I figured out the root to why she thought she would try it, and it wasn't just some dumb teenager thing. There was roots to why I did what I did when I was younger.
Everybody has a reason, right?
Yeah. It wasn't just because there's roots to it.
Yeah, that's so wonderful, because you were able to, a moment grew out of that.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I think cannabis helps me be a more open parent. Yeah. Cannabis helps me have those conversations that are super uncomfortable, because we all get uncomfortable, and, I can sit down and slow down. For me, I'm all the time, balls to the wall. Gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. And when I come home, I usually, I come home and I have I smoke a little, and I just kind of come down, and then I want to talk to the kids, and I want to hear about it. I have strains that, when I need those philosophical conversations with my kids, like gelato, I'll be like, let me get some gelato in me. Hold on. We're going to talk about life. Let me get a little in me, and then we can have these, because it helps me break those barriers of feeling uncomfortable. Because it's weird having conversation with your kids. I know. My kid will tell me something one day, personal teenage girl, and she had made some comment about, I probably don't know if I should say this on here, but she was like, "Oh, I hate getting in the cold water, it makes my nipples hurt." And I'm like, "Oh, God, do not say that to me." No. And then you got to realize, they're getting older. You know what I mean? Yeah. God. And I'm like, okay, this is super freaking awkward, but this day is okay. And I had a friend tell me similar with their little boy, their son, that he made some comment to him, and they were like, "Ooh!" But then it's I can sit down and be like, all right. Yeah. Let's have conversations about all
absolutely.
This. Yeah.
And sometimes I get into those awkward situations to where you kind of just want to get angry so you can get out of them.
Yeah.
Or just no, I don't want to talk about it, But you're right. If I just lean on cannabis a little bit, I could be like, maybe there's a creative way to talk about this.
Yeah. And you got to find those ways, and ways to be more open. And it's also nice. I see for coming up in special needs, working in that, I see this community of moms with autism, autistic children, or children with CP, and all of these things, and they've found this network of people, within the cannabis community that see things. I listened to Tara's podcast with
the High Hopes.
Yeah, with Jinx Proof, Miss Rose.
Yes.
And man, when I listen to that, and I hear these people that get to finally share their story with like-minded people, and I immediately had several friends that I'm like, I need you to listen to this. I need you to listen to this. I need you. But to see that community of people, these moms that have struggled in silence for so long, moms and dads that have struggled in silence, and grandparents, that are raising their grandchildren that are struggling. And we have this community now. And I see the cannabis community doing more than I see other communities. Yes. When we had that really bad cold spell. Remember we had all that really bad cold weather not too long ago, and it was super crazy cold, abnormal cold for that stretch. Yeah. I seen a massive load of dispensaries and cannabis community getting together to get blankets for the homeless and being very proactive about making sure they had, you know, things to drink and some food, and that like, I don't see anybody else doing that.
No.
You know, but I didn't see it on the news either.
No, you don't.
You don't.
And, you know, it's crazy, like, remember the tornadoes that hit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I thought of you, one. And
it was 1 mile south of our kitchen.
Oh, my gosh. And then a couple of other people out in that area, you know, try to make some phone calls and all of that. But instantly, people were, you know, either texting me or calling saying, hey, we're thinking about doing a group thing to go down there if we need to.
Yeah, like, let's go help clean up.
Yeah.
You know, like, I see that in Seminole a lot. Like, I see Seminole community, the cannabis community there, like, cleaning up the trash. Like, they have work days. You know, like, you've got that Blunts man, Tony.
Yeah, he's
walking from Austin.
I know, man. I watch him every day on Facebook. I'm like, oh my god.
But look at him.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yes.
He's out there, like, vulnerable and putting his mental illness out there.
Yeah.
And he's somebody that would have been probably overshadowed by any other community in this world.
Yeah.
But cannabis has given him a community that he can have a platform on.
Absolutely.
And that inspires me. It inspires me to see people who are not your stereotypic celebrity influencers.
Yes.
That are influencers in this community.
Me too.
People you never would have expected. You know, you've got like grannies and, you know, you've got them all across the spectrum. But they get to feel like 100% with who they are, and they get this platform of people that are so accepting.
Yes.
You know, I think about it, like every other influencer that we know.
It's also very entertaining.
Very. But I'm like, I see people out there doing that, influencers, like in the cannabis community that are not your next top model.
Right.
And I'm like, that's who I'd rather listen to.
Yeah.
Everyday folk just like me.
There you go.
You know? Everyday folk. But cannabis gives that community, and it's super cool.
That's awesome.
And that's what I like about, like, your magazine. Like, you guys highlight so many different stuff among, like, all along.
Yeah.
You know? It's not just about, you know, like, who's the next biggest, largest producer.
Right.
You know? Like, who's got the $50 million production facility.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, who has the $500?
Yeah, I interviewed a guy that had 20 plants.
Yeah. He probably had some of the fires.
Yeah, but it wasn't necessarily about all the weed.
Yeah.
It was about what it was about. I'm not going to say. But, you know, we're not necessarily, I mean, anyway, thank you very much for saying that.
It is. I mean, like, you guys have opened up a huge platform for me. And I tell a lot of people, you know, back before you guys had your audience choice, we didn't know each other.
Yeah, no.
I didn't know you guys. I'd heard about you guys, never even knew you. And when Tara called me and told me that we won all this stuff, I was like, are you sure you're calling the right person? Are you sure about that? You know, and as a producer and not owning a dispensary, I don't get to see the patients as much, you know. So I didn't see how much people really cared about our products.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, what? Really? You know, but you guys have given a platform for people like us that we've got space. You know, we have this safe space to come in and talk about it. I know I've been on your podcast, and you guys have given me this safe space to be who I am and to talk about that. You know, like, I don't have to pretend to be anybody else, and I'm not.
Wouldn't want you to be.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I no.
No, that would
just
suck.
Be me.
It would suck if it wasn't you, Tessy.
I hope so. I hope no matter what happens in this industry, I hope that, like, people see that I lived authentically.
Yes.
And that's all. Like, every product I put out has a story, and people hear that, and I think sometimes people probably get tired of me going on. But when I tell somebody about a product, I want to tell them why I made that product, why we do that, you know, like, who's behind it. And it's got a purpose. And that's, you know, people all the time be like, oh, did you hear so-and-so has a drink out? I'm like, good for them.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, don't you worry about competition? I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
There's how many different potato chips in the world?
Right.
Everybody has their favorite.
It's funny. Like, do you think that you invented the drink? Or, I mean, like,
No.
it's, some people say that about magazines too. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's another one out there.
magazines have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So we're not the only ones, but we're doing our best, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny how people try to place you in a weird market.
Like we have to be competitive.
Like you have to be competitive. Yes, there is competition,
Yeah.
of course.
But everybody has different preferences.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
my
but-
products target a certain group of people, and I don't make the highest dosing. I'm not out there to make the highest
Yeah.
dosing product.
But like you said, you know what? You were talking about your dose earlier. I drank at the beginning of the show. I had 2 of them in a drink with Sprite, and so that's 40,
Yeah.
right? It felt more like, I'd say, 80.
Yeah.
you
Because
know?
that higher bioavailability
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't understand.
And it lasted longer.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just anyway.
And that's it. I mean, I have mounds of competition around me, you know, if that's what you want to call it, you know, like competition. And I
Yeah.
support them.
Yeah.
I try other brands, you know, like I try other brands. I have some favorite products that are not mine, you know, that I would never try to duplicate because they do it and they do it really well, you know. And I kudos to that. I support all the entrepreneurs out there doing what they're doing. And for me, my thing is just building my base of people that like, you know, it's kind of like with potato chips. You got people that really care about Doritos, you know, and then you got people that's like, I'm cool with the knockoff brand. You know, it's cheaper, more economical.
Give me the Toms.
Yeah. But, and that's the thing, like everybody, my husband even does that to me. He'd be like, oh, did you see? And I'm like,
Yeah.
and?
Yeah, I saw it.
I saw it.
And
I'm
already
kudos.
reacted in my head.
You
so
know,
I'm
it's
good.
kudos. It's good. It's good for them. I really don't see anybody
Yeah.
else's competition because I don't see that. I just see everybody else out there making it.
It's really not like that. I mean, it is, but it's not. I guess it is. The reason why it's like that is because people make it like that. You know. But anyway, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but like you said with
Do
magazines,
you have a favorite other drink product?
I actually don't.
Woo!
I don't. And I'll tell you why. It's not because their products are not good. It's because their products are too high for me.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So I've tried some, and they were pretty good. I think that I might be maybe the only full spectrum. Are you aware of another full spectrum drink?
Well, no.
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 See, I think that I'm the only one that's full spectrum, and the only one that's portable, like that.
Right. Yeah.
So I think I have like my own little niche.
like the zip pouches.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing.
Little
I mean,
packet, you just throw it in your purse,
Yes,
take it to the
perfect.
lake, go anywhere with it. But I don't think there's anybody else that has a full spectrum one.
Right. No, I mean, I'm sure there are. It's just I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't found one. I'd love to try it if I do. But no, I mean, I've not products.
If there are, send them.
Yeah, let me try them.
Yeah.
You know, I've had people reach out to me about stuff, and I'm hoping like we're working on some technology to be able to really increase our production of them, and you know, and I'll be happy to, you know, help other companies with, you know, providing them the nano or whatever
Yeah.
to have something similar. But I
I just wanted to catch you off guard and see.
there are some things like Bison's pain cream.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Totally love it.
Good
It's one of my
stuff, huh?
favorites. There are other brands. I love Bison's chocolate bar, but I recently had Dandelions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a pretty big favorite of mine. I've never even met Dandelion. I've met Bison, super great people. I've never met
I
Dandelion.
like both of those.
But I tried that Dandelion one and I was like, dang it. I actually really like those Pop Rocks. JKJ has those Pop Rocks.
I know.
I like those Pop Rocks.
What is that? What is
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, I mean, I have
Oh
no
my
problem
gosh, I
supporting
love
other
it.
people. I've had a lot of different stuff, but I probably don't try a bunch as much as my husband does. He tries a ton of different brands, a lot, just to kind of see how they go.
Like compare and all of that.
Yeah. Not so much to compare, but just to try. And like usually when we go to the dispensary and I'm delivering, I like to support my dispensary as well.
Yeah.
You know, like dispensaries, and so I'll buy different products and try different things. But I'm a slow doser. So I like anywhere from 5 milligrams to 20. So I get kind of a lot of products I can't try because they're super high dosing.
Yeah.
So there's stuff that I try, but I'm actually more of a flower girl.
Okay.
So I'm not a huge, I like our refreshers. They hit a little quicker. For me, I think it's hard for me, that waiting game is my problem.
I got you.
So I don't consume a lot of edibles, because it's that uncertainty in that waiting game.
Yes, that makes total
And
sense.
if I do, I start off really tiny because I've been kind of burned by trying some edibles that were way stronger, whether they weren't like maybe homogenized correctly or something that really put me over the edge, and I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
I'm like very conservative, and my dosing is not like, I have posted one day like, like Saturdays and Sundays is like, Saturdays is recreational for me, and Monday through Friday is medicinal for me.
Okay.
So like when I consume throughout the week, it's a medicinal kind of thing. It's
Gotcha.
not for recreation. It's not like, it is just to ease my fibromyalgia, maybe ease my mind. It's just very, very medicinal for me. So I never want to feel over and above. I've never been like, even drinking, I've never been one that would like drink in excess. I like to stay very in control, and it is very medicinal for me. So I leer around from trying other products. There are a ton of great products out there, but I'm very leery. But that's why I like to smoke. I like refreshers because they hit those CB2 and give me that full body. But I like to smoke more than anything. It's a little more, it's quicker, and I'm very conservative with that. Like I won't take down a whole J. Like,
yeah.
No, if I try a new strain, I will not smoke a lot.
Okay.
Like I'll take a couple puffs, I give it a little bit to see how I feel. There's a few terpenes that give me bad anxiety, and they make me feel very racy.
Right.
Like terpenoline.
Terpenoline.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one kind of it makes me anxious,
Okay.
and so I'm always very cautious. I'm a very cautious cannabis user.
Also cariphyllene.
That one doesn't bother me too much.
Really?
Okay. I don't know what it is about that one that really, every time I find a strain that gives me that little anxiousness, it usually has the terpenoline in it.
Okay. All right.
It's strange. But it's everybody's bodies are different.
So what's your favorite strain? Do you have one?
I love gelato.
Gelato.
Yeah, and it probably has, I don't know, but.
I've always been like a Mac person.
So I recently tried some Mac 1.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I like the XJ13 too, like Heartland Farms.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're like super known for that one.
Yes.
When I did that podcast with Tara, the High Hopes, I had smoked some of that, and it gives me
so good.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with you. I think I've gone to gelato now, but I like the gelato too from the farm, from the oh my gosh, from who we were just talking about. Oh my gosh.
Heartland.
Yeah, from Heartland.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a bunch of different ones.
I love theirs though.
So Recreation Plantation used to grow a lot of Blue Dream, and and it was like one of my favorites for a long time. And then he had a White Widow that I really liked. Mm-hmm. But I tend to look at cultivators. Like I have certain cultivators that I'm huge fans of.
Yeah.
Like Mountie Farms is a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
But I like to try, and I pay attention to my cultivator, and I tell everyone, like, brand your flower. If your flower is sitting in a jar at a dispensary, it better have your sticker on it.
Yes.
Because when I come in, that's what I look for.
I
have cultivators that I love, and there's a lot of cultivators that I love. I was just recently talking to a dispensary that was going to be getting Hermetic. It's a huge favorite of mine.
I love Hermetic.
Yeah, and so like I look for cultivators because I trust their strains.
Yes.
But there's so many out there that I don't even know yet that I want to know. You know, like us doing the cannabis. So like the whole like Snow Cane from Blood, Sweat, Tears, one of my favorite sativas. Doesn't make me feel anxious. It's one of my favorites. But I get to find those by doing these cannabis splits with these different cultivators.
Yeah.
And I get to kind of see them and get to know them and know about them and like discover new strains. But I'm kind of like Blue Dream was always it always has been a favorite of mine. You don't see it as much.
So like, it's just like
yeah.
I've
and
seen
then
Seinfeld so many times.
and then like Strawberry Slurpee with Kind Origin has Strawberry Slurpee. That's one that I pretty well keep on me.
Yeah.
Is Strawberry Slurpee.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites too. I have so many favorites. It totally depends on the day.
Right. Yeah.
What I'm looking for in the day.
That's an unfair question. That's like, what's your favorite song?
I'm like, what day is it?
Yeah. What time is it?
I literally, on my way back from Kansas, I listened to everything from Missy Elliott to Neil Young to Outkast to Seether and Shinedown. Like I literally, my kids are in the car going, what the hell, 112? Do you remember 112? Like I got favorites from there, you know? Like I'm like, put it in my thing. You look in my phone and it's like this whole like across the decades or whatever of music, you know? And I'm like listening to like all kinds of random shit. But that's kind of how I am, I think, with flower. Like just depends on the day, depends on the mood, kind of like what I'm wanting from it.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of across the board.
But flower's your favorite.
Yeah.
Edibles, not so much,
and
but you are an edible.
I don't like, I'm not a big pre-roll. Well, I mean, I like edibles. Like, I do. But, so my business partner, like, she heads up a lot of the edibles. Like, she's our gummy queen.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom makes the hard candies. And she makes all of our hot mixes, like our teas and our hot chocolates, and Melinda does all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm super thankful for her because she, you know, like I hate to be stuck in the kitchen. I do. I'm like, I love developing products and I love doing the design. I love doing all of the marketing for it. I love talking to people and selling it, but I don't like being in the kitchen all the time.
Okay. And so she's the kitchen.
Yeah. So she
loves that.
Yeah, that's her
Obviously,
space.
Yeah.
When COVID happened, a lot of people don't really know Melinda as well because when COVID happened, she didn't get out.
Yeah.
You know, she stayed in the kitchen. We needed to protect that. We needed to make sure that she stayed healthy and she could, you know, stay in the kitchen and produce quality stuff. And so she didn't really get out, and now she's been getting out a lot more. And people will like, I'm like, this is my other half.
You know? I remember when I first met her.
Yeah.
I remember you said that. This, by the way, this is, you know, like.
And she is, you know, sometimes I check, I'm like, are you okay with how everything's going? And she was like, you do it. You go, do you.
That's awesome.
You know, you run this how you want to run it, and I'm here for whatever you need me to do. And so I'm super fortunate to have her. I actually worked for her. I met her. I used to make custom draperies for her.
Really?
So I don't know, here in Shawnee, we used to have Betty Knapp custom draperies.
Okay.
And so about 17 years ago, I met her. I was working at the school, and I was working with my friend worked with me who had a special needs son, and we worked together, and they were good friends. And I was looking for another job. I've always hustled and had like millions of jobs, but she said she's looking for help over there, and I'm like, I like to sew. Super strange. People probably look at me now and are like, what? But so I went to work for her, and I made custom drapes. And I've been in some of like amazing houses in Shawnee, and it's so weird to me. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, she got the red linen with the, you know, but I used to make custom draperies. When the Grand opened, their very first concert was going to be Gretchen Wilson, and they needed the big old black velvet drape, and I made that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got free tickets to Gretchen Wilson for it. But we made draperies together.
That's great.
Yeah, all kinds of really cool stuff. Like, it was a super cool time in my life.
Wow, what'd you do with that?
I put it in my pocket and sew something later.
No, I mean, what'd you do with the whole...
Oh, no, like, it was theirs. I mean, it belonged to the Grand. But so we made custom draperies, and I learned how to sew I already basically knew how to sew. But I learned how to make all kinds of really things, Austria shades and cornice board. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And so we did that for a long time, and I discovered then that she loved cannabis as much as I did back then. And her mom unfortunately had gotten sick and passed away, and Melinda had gotten breast cancer. And cannabis was a huge part of Melinda getting through her cancer. And when her mom passed away and everything, we had converted the kitchen to, she always wanted to have a commercial kitchen. And so that's when Mittie's Kitchen evolved. And that was in 2011. And so I just kind of did the business side of things for Melinda back then. Because like I said, I've professionally been a tax accountant. And so I handled all the business side of things for the market, and she made jams and jellies and tabbouleh and hummus and these freaking pickles. She had these sweet lime pickles. Oh, darn. Oh, and like she made like this cowboy candy is like jalapenos.
Yeah.
And they're like sweet and spicy jalapenos.
Right.
You know, when we first started, we had infused jam.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
One of our first products was infused jam.
Spread on your bread? Okay.
It was dynamite too. Like it was so good, but it didn't sell for shit.
Well,
I don't know why. I think it's the educational barrier. I don't know. But it didn't sell. But it was badass. Like we would have people.
Awesome.
They're like, every morning I wake up and I put my jam on my on my toast, and started my day off, and it was an incredible product. We had a pineapple jalapeno jam. And it was super good, like to put a glazed chicken.
Right.
We had I think we had like a peach chipotle one. We might not have infused that one. I think it was the apple butter we infused. Apple butter and strawberry jam. Yeah. So we had an apple butter, a strawberry jam, and that pineapple jalapeno.
Oh, man.
They were so good.
Does she still make them? Just on the side?
No.
Okay.
No, we've been pretty busy.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like beggar. I'm like, can you please make me some hummus and tabbouleh? Please? My kids are like, we miss our jelly. Like we had jelly. But that's kind of where it got started. So, I mean, we've had roots in commercial kitchen for a long time, which is what frustrates me with OMA, with Metric, is we're small batch.
Yeah.
And Metric is not set up for that. Metric tells me that they have the capabilities, but that OMA doesn't understand our end user needs. And I've tried to communicate, but it's just not really gotten anywhere. Which goes back to me and you talking about we need a round table with OMA.
Right.
We need a round table that has representatives from big and small. From small dispensary to large dispensary, from small edibles processors to big edibles processors to extractors, growers, small mom and pop growers, so like small craft growers to large growers, outdoor growers, indoor growers. Like we need to have like a board of some sort, like this committee of people that we can all sit at a table together and we can all talk about what we need and find this common ground. And that's what we lack in here. They hear from these loud voices here, but they don't hear from the ones here that are so busy in my day. Like I'm so busy, I don't have time to go to the Capitol.
Yeah.
I really wish I could. I support the people that go to the Capitol. I support the people that advocate. Like I love that. Like that Pitchfork Potheads group, like people, they've got a good voice.
Awesome.
DC has a good voice of things. People get upset with him, but he's passionate. But I appreciate that. Because it makes moves. Sometimes it's not as effective, but sometimes it is. But I think if we had a round table or a board that met maybe quarterly or something, that we could all get together and talk about what's really happening in our industry. What are we seeing? What needs do we really have? Mm-hmm. What changes do we need? We invite legislators to it. I think we have this committee that we invite legislators to come talk to, or maybe we go to them and talk to them and give them a better understanding of the industry. Cannabis has helped so many financially in our economy. Like, look how much money it's brought in our economy.
Yeah.
I look at the sales report from state to local taxes in comparison to the cannabis tax.
Right.
We're neck and neck. Think about how much money we have put in back into our economy. Think about all of these dilapidated, and some people really fail to look at this, but I look in these small towns, we're like, oh, there's a new dispensary popping up on every corner. There's a new landlord who didn't have the capital investment to fix up a building, who now has income,
Yes.
who now has a refurbished building.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get there's a dispensary on every corner, but these dispensaries aren't out building new infrastructure. They're rehabilitating.
Yes.
They're rehabilitating dying communities.
Yes.
And that's what I see. You know, a lot of people are blinded.
It's not like a bunch of liquor stores going on every corner.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It's not. It's not the same, but people forget to see that it's putting money back into our communities.
Yeah, they do.
You know?
Or they want everybody. Certain people may want everybody to forget that.
Yeah. And our legislators forget that, you know? They forget these small people that are back.
There you go. Yes.
You know, like I have friends that have been able to rehabilitate through the dispensaries. The dispensaries have put in the capital investment to rehabilitate those buildings to code. Mm-hmm. You know, they couldn't rent it to anybody else because they were out of code. Excuse me, but that landlord didn't have the money to do that. And I know some landlords like that's very similar situation. They didn't have the money, and so these buildings sat dilapidated, ran down, nothing they were going to be able to do with them unless they shelled the money. Dispensaries came in with the capital to be able to rehab that building. Now that building's up to code. When that dispensary, if they make it or they don't, if they don't make it, they have a building they can rent again.
The building is still up to code.
And they had money coming from it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's in the same like we talked about with the farms. Mm-hmm. You know, like I know people within the farmers market industry that weren't making it. You know, they had empty greenhouses. Now they have greenhouses full of cannabis.
Yeah. And
now they're living again. They're surviving.
And some even a better quality of life than what they had before. We forget to look at it. Everybody hears cannabis. You know, reefer madness. Yeah. Dispensary on every corner. And I'm like, rental income. You know, like profits for crops. You know, I think about that. Or like even us as producers. And it makes me worried about outside lookers in. They notice that too. It's very easy to see where the money is. And so we need to remember that whenever we're talking about our own community right here in our mom and pops and people like you that did start this. You guys did this.
Yeah.
And we need to remember that. Those people that are going up there, those people that are making those decisions, it's not that they're forgetting, it's they're not remembering why.
Yeah.
And they're seeing a dollar sign. I hope that that's not the case with most.
We do have some people that advocate for cannabis that have more been distracted by the financial gains from it. And I'm like, I need to find those financial gains.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well,
but I don't.
The financial gains that you don't have privy to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Somebody does.
Yeah. It's easy to get kind of jealous sometimes. You see some of these people that come from a lot of money. I've been poor my whole life.
Yes.
Like my whole point with people are like the cannagars. I sell them for super affordable. It's a lot of work and a lot of labor because I come from really poor upbringings. And it's important to me that people have quality products that are affordable. And I'm not saying that just for ratings or any, whatever.
Well, sure.
Like, it's true.
You've always said that.
Yeah.
It's not like
but
you're
it's
just
kind of like
saying
eating healthy. Mm-hmm. It's hard to eat healthy because it's so expensive. Like sometimes that stuff is expensive. And so like I want it to be affordable. And it's easy because growing up poor and being, I want people to have access to something that's nice. But it's easy to get jealous of those other companies and other people that have a lot of income at their disposal. And I'm like, if I only had like a fraction of that money, you realize what I could do for everybody.
I know.
Like I think about that, but then I look at my kids and I'm like, my kids are seeing me grow this business with every dollar we make. I have no outside money. I have no whatever. I mean, if somebody wants to come in and give me a bunch of money, you know, and they want to leave me with all the rights to the business,
turn it away.
I will do it for my patients. I will do incredible things for my own patients, But in reality, I get to feel good and sleep good at night about how I'm doing this business and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's important
As
to
you
me.
should.
Whether we make it or we don't, I get to feel good about how I did it.
You're such a good example. I mean, you're inspiring. No, you are. I mean, you're a real person. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, you're a good example to your children.
Yeah,
you're
I try.
a good example to people. I mean, you're a very inspiring person.
Yeah.
I love what you do. I love your company, and you, and you're just a great person to be around. You're a very magnetic personality, and I don't see why you don't want to get on camera and be silly.
I don't know. I think about it sometimes, but
anyway.
I don't know. Like I feel like so many years we get put in this box, you know, like we all get pushed down into a box of like what's socially acceptable and what's normal, what's considered normal, you know, and I really put in those boxes. You know, I've been overweight my whole life, you know, but I'm extremely active. Do you know, I in 2018, I ran a half marathon at almost 300 pounds. Yeah. And I worked my ass. I trained for 6 months and I ran a half marathon.
How many miles is that? What is it? 13.1.
But I'm extremely active, you know, and my kids, like, I get out, I play, I'll hike, I'll go anywhere, and I'm overweight, and I've been overweight my entire life, you know, but for so many years of our lives, we've been told that that's not okay, that's not acceptable. If you're not this size, you're not fit. You know, like my husband is thin and he has incredibly high cholesterol and all of this, and I have perfect cholesterol, you know, and I'm not ideally what they would say is, you know, but I'm super active. Like, I love to go, like, ride bikes with my kids. I love to go kayaking. Like, I'm active, but we get put in these boxes for so long. And I think that's part of my, like, fear of being on TV or, you know, like doing silly videos, because like I have for a long time been put into this, like, you're not really socially acceptable, you know, you're not a socially acceptable size or whichever, you know, like even from going, this is a total tangent, but going shopping, you know, it's hard to find clothes that are in my size, but most people will look at me and be like, oh gosh, she's probably lazy. I'm balls to the wall from the moment I wake up till I go to sleep at night.
I have to stop you right now. And you need to stop talking shit about yourself.
I'm not talking bad about myself. I'm just saying we get put in these boxes, and I still myself have to grow from that. I have to realize that no matter what I am, like, or my size, like, I'm allowed to be that. And I'm just as like welcome to the world as everybody else is.
You are you.
Yeah, but I mean, I really shied away from a lot of those things because of those reasons.
I understand.
But I see women every day, and I see these women out there just like mom bods, like showing it, and I'm like, yeah. Like, that's sexy as fuck right there.
Hell yeah.
Like real life women, real bodies.
There you go.
You know, but I've seen the other side of it because my youngest is super thin. And she's self-conscious about being so thin. Because you know, and I'm like, no, we got to stop this.
Yeah.
You know, like, you are healthy and you are beautiful, but I see it on both sides. But
just to imagine that your child has that type of thought, it's gut-wrenching.
It is. And I'm like, I remember as a kid thinking that being overweight, you know, or what was considered overweight. You know, I had those feelings, and to see my kid feels that way being thin, you know, and I'm like, why do we look at that? Why do we look at that?
It's so horrible. It's such a horrible thing. We can't go there.
I know. I could go on a tangent.
Yeah, I know. I could too.
It totally doesn't have anything to do with cannabis.
I know.
But it does influencers, man. I see the influencers out there killing it, you know, and I'm like,
that's right.
Damn. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
I love when people aren't afraid to be them.
I love it too.
I love it when they get out there and show all their glory, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. That is exactly it. I'm like, take your dad bod all day long. You know, like real man status right there. That's what I tell my husband. He's like, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you are totally a normal person. Like, I'm not trying to like date a celebrity, you know, like this idea model or whatever.
He's a celebrity. He's an idea model. What are you talking about?
He is.
He's the man.
He is. He's not like, you know, but I don't know. But yeah, be you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I still have to remind myself that sometimes.
Yeah, we all do. We all need to remind ourselves that.
Yeah.
I fall into that whirlwind of who the hell am I all the time, constantly, every day.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I struggle now with growing the business. It scares me.
Yeah.
I'm terrified. I know that I can take this business to another level. I'm terrified of it.
I know.
I'm terrified that I will lose sight of who I am. I'm terrified that I'll lose sight of my mission. Like, it's a real struggle. Like, I'm scared to death to grow the business because what if I get so busy that I lose sight of, like, why I do this, you know? And I don't ever want to do that. And every day I still have fears, you know, like, I know what I need to do, but I'm terrified.
Do you think that you would be influenced to be different somehow, or do you really have a fear that you would be different?
Like, I don't think that I would, like, deep down in, I don't think I would be different, but, like, many people are like, oh, why don't you go on LeafLink? Your sales will triple overnight. Why don't you hire a transport company? And, I mean, in reality, I know I can't do it all by myself, but, because I don't want to let people down. I don't want to let them lose that quality or that personability or, you know, like that attention to detail, you know, and it's scary. You know, part of me is, I met my husband and he told me he wanted to live on a mansion or castle on an island. And I told him I wanted to be middle class and happy. And that's how it is. That's how I see life. Like, I just want to be middle class and happy, you know, but, you know, I have the demand. People want, you know, me to grow and do more and more product lines and this and that. But it scares shit out of me.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Do you feel like that you would necessarily, I mean, I know what you mean by the quality, but do you think that it would just diminish?
I don't know.
Or do you think that you would grow? Because you're such a positive influence.
Yeah.
And I could see where people would want to work with you in your company and be inspired by your vision. I really do. I see you as a very good leader. And I'm sorry, this is just my opinion.
It's true.
And so I really think that you could grow. And do you think maybe you have a fear of change?
You know, working in like my tax industry and a lot of the jobs I worked in the past, I never was really respected as much as like I probably deserved. You know, like when I invest in something, I put everything into it. You know, my tax firm that I worked for, my partner's still very supportive of me, and I still help him out, and I really respect him. And I've been able to recently be open with him. He didn't know that I was involved in this for a long time. And I've been able to be open with him, and he's very supportive. But in that industry, I didn't have a CPA. I only had an EA, which is a federal it's a federal test, basically, a federal license. But a CPA is more known. And I was always told, like, you know, I couldn't be a manager because I had an EA, not a CPA. And the way I looked at it is, with an EA, I can represent anybody in any state. A CPA, lots of time, unless there's whatever the word is, whatever. Unless the state recognizes, usually you can only operate in your state, basically.
The territory.
Whatever the word is, I can't think of it right now.
Jurisdiction.
Sort of.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Other states accepting your license, basically. And, you know, like, I always was kind of held down, and I was a more powerful of a voice. I was a little more outspoken, and I was really shut down for that a lot. And I had a strong passion for tax. And unfortunately, I just kept getting shut down in that world. It's a pretty well male-dominated world. And I never could make it any further than what I was unless I had the CPA. but yet I was given all the duties. You know, the rest of the staff really respected me, and they came to me before they would go to any manager. You know, and like when we would have these meetings, they would ask me, what's the environment like? How's everybody holding up? How's everybody doing? Because they knew that people would come to me. And I always had the skills to be the manager.
Right.
You know, like I'm one of the only, I was one of the only ones in there that was extroverted. You know, whenever we were grinding through a long tax season and everybody's ready to crawl under their desk and hide, I'm going around like, hey guys, we've got this, we're almost there. You know, I'm encouraging them. And I always felt that I had that, but I was always shut down. And I never really understood why I was shut down, because not only did I know how to do my job, and I was so well respected from all of my clients. I had clients that even after I was done and I wasn't no longer working on theirs and maybe somebody else had taken over, that would only speak to me. You know, like I had these amazing relationships, but I was always shut down. And I think that fear still inhibits me from growing, because I've never worked at a job to where they were like, you got what it takes, go do this. It was always like, stay in your lane.
I see.
That's not your position. We're going to give you the responsibility, but not the title. We need you to just be quiet and do this. I never had that opportunity.
It sounds like you already know how to do it.
I know, but you got to get this thing right here to tell yourself that you can.
I wish, okay, I'm different. I'm opposite. My thing is I don't have anything for that next level to compare it to. So that's where my fear comes in, to level up. You already know. You already know what to compare it to and how you can do it, you can attain it. You just need to make that leap. Huh.
Yeah, like my job before, my tax job in the accounting world, I spoke out against some new insurance that was coming through. Like I did my research, and I realized that this insurance plan was not going to be beneficial, and the scheme they were coming up with was not going to be beneficial for a lot of us that worked for, like, their spouses worked for a tribe, and we had insurance through that tribe or whatever. And I spoke out against it, and I lost my job because I informed others. Like in a meeting, I asked questions, and I said, what about these guys? Like, what about us that have insurance elsewhere? And the CEO of the company took me into another room and told me that you can't kill the king. And I lost my job. I never got promoted after that. I never got another raise and nothing. And my boss at that time was like, we have to get you out of here. And so, like, speaking up and speaking out has really got me in trouble, and trying to make it to that next level has got me in trouble. And so I think that I have a lot of fears of that because I've been stifled, and I think there's a lot of people that resonate with that. Like we've been told, no, you have your place, you stay in it. And, but my heart tells me and my mind tells me that I'm capable of this. And the more that I meet people, patients, the more that I get to talk with people like you and other people in the industry that believe in me, it helps me every day realize, okay, I really think I can do this. Like, I feel like I can do this, but maybe I really can. And maybe I finally have a community of people that support me.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a community of people that really believe in me when I've lived in a world of people that don't. The professional careers I've been in have never been that way. My equals supported me. My equals looked up to me. They admired me. But the people up above, and maybe they were threatened, Maybe they felt threatened by my relationships with everybody else. I don't really know. But I think that's stifled me for a long time in this. I mean, we're 3 years in, and I've told myself I've got the next 6 months to figure this out. Like, my license is good for 6 months, and I either have to grow it or don't.
Yeah.
I've got to take it to that next level if I'm going to be able to survive with all of the regulations and all of the compliance and all of the changes that are happening within our cannabis community. I have to grow to that next level to survive it.
Yes.
I've been fortunate that have low overhead, and through these laws in the market, we're able to survive. But I've got to take it to that next level. But I also have to find that confidence within myself. Like, people may think, oh, she has it all together. I don't have it all together.
Yeah.
And I have fears, and everything just like everybody else.
It's amazing to, see inside of the entrepreneur's mind, sometimes, because like so many people look like they have it together, or they're calm and whatever, but really inside of their head, it is insanity.
It's terrifying to have this business.
Yes.
Like people are trusting me and my products, which is why I support, Metric, I think we could have gone about a different system. I feel like the tags are a little asinine. There's problems. But I believe in compliance. I believe in testing, because my livelihood and my reputation relies on our quality products. If I put out crap products that hurt somebody, that's on me.
Yeah.
If I put out products that make somebody sick, that's on me. And the difference between me and some of these big companies is I don't have the money to make it better and to hide it. Like, I have to get out there and make products that are true and high quality, because I don't have the money to cover it up if it doesn't work.
Right. You don't have mistake money.
Yeah, I don't. And so I'm fine with compliance. I really believe in that.
Yeah.
There are some things and some methods that they want you that are not efficient and appropriate for manufacturing. They're not real effective ways to do business. They, like, for instance, one of the biggest issues with Metric right now is they expect large batch production. They want it to be mass produced, and then you test. That's a terrible idea. You've just spent all of that money on production and labor and packaging and all of that to not be able to test it until after you're done with all of it, and then you don't even know, like, if it fails, you've wasted all of that. So our SOPs have always been, we do lots, we cook in lots, so it's the same oil, same ingredients, same everything. It's just done in increments, small they're not really batches, but small lots of the same product. And but we'll do our first run. It goes to the lab. We ensure everything is right. We ensure that our calculations are correct. Everything's correct. And then we continue to produce, just duplicate what we've done, and record it and track it. And that way, and Metric doesn't really allow for that. They want you to harvest and completely finish your whole entire, harvest for flower. You have to do it all before you can even send it to testing.
So what you're saying is you can't,
it's inefficient.
You can't do it on your own.
It's not just doing it on my own. It's inefficient way of doing business. Like for us, it's super inefficient for me not to be able to test until every single bit of it's been done. They want it packaged. They want it labeled. They want everything done before you send it to the lab.
Right.
That's inefficient.
Yes,
because if it
totally
fails,
inefficient.
I've lost all of that production, time, money, everything. Packaging's expensive. I've lost every bit of that. And so, I've been trying, and I have so many other processors that I talk to that are very similar. They cook and they do things the same way. I mean, we've had a commercial kitchen since 2011.
Yeah.
Like, I understand food manufacturing on a small batch level.
Right.
We don't produce anything large batch, but on a small batch level, I understand that. I understand the quality and everything. But we can't do that with Metric, because they want it all done in a 24-hour period. Who can make their whole batch limit? You tell me that I can take 1,000 grams of the exact same oil, 1,000 grams of THC of the exact same oil is my batch limit. Okay, somebody is, but I'm not producing it, and I don't even produce that much.
They're not aware. They're not aware of what the end
users need.
Yeah, they're not aware of what is needed.
Yeah.
Out of the product.
Yeah, but then I also come from where I'm like, okay, do I draw attention to myself and get targeted? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, how do you address this, and how do you, and I speak to tons of processors, and they're all in the same boat as us, and I'm like, how do we get to OMA? How do we effectively have conversations with them about that? Because
That's where we
They
need a
know
round
their
table
world.
like you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they know their world, but they don't know ours.
Yeah.
And how we effectively get to them. So there's so many different facets to this, and what is the most effective way to do business and most efficient way to do business. And they forget to look at that. I don't see other industries, like being in the farmer's market. Everything we did was by lots, we cooked the same thing. You didn't have to do the crazy testing that you have to do. But I understand this because we're using this medicinally, why we need so much testing and, a lot of bad products on the market. But
yeah. Could you imagine if it were just as simple as like growing a product, getting it tested, making sure everything's okay, and then selling it?
Yeah, it's not that simple.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, that's all we're trying to do, essentially. Yeah. And is this a matter of people trying to pick this apart? Or is this a matter of
I think a lot of people want it to fail.
Overbearing?
I think people want it to fail.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. I think they want it to fail. I think they, part of it I think is ignorance. And I don't mean like they're stupid or whatever, but ignorance in the way that this industry works. And I think that's a big part of it, is they lack the real industry knowledge and the first-hand knowledge. But then the other part of it is I feel like some of them just say, if we make it so complicated, we'll weed them all out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a mentality too. I think that's a good part of it, is like, how complicated can we make it? How burdensome, we look at government regulations and, sometimes government, it stifles people out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they want. They want people to be stifled out. And it's crazy because we live in this capitalistic world. Like, everybody should be able to like make stuff and do stuff and be free and everything, but it's like more and more regulation just keeps stunting us. Like, Oklahoma is one of the most innovative cannabis markets. Mm-hmm. You go to other states, and I don't know if you've traveled and looked at other products in other states, but not all these other states have real innovative products. And the reason they don't have these real innovative products is because the barrier to entry is so high. You build this manufacturing facility that's top notch for gummies, but then you've used all of your resources on gummies. Yeah. And you don't have that opportunity. Oklahoma gave people the opportunity to really like experiment and to really innovate.
Yes.
We were able to try and innovate because we had that lower entry. And, we didn't have to spend every dime we had on for one product. We got to spend our money on like, okay, let's try this, from our jams to, hard candy and refreshers and all of that. Like, we've been more innovative. Yeah. But if it was higher entry, we wouldn't have been able to be innovative. If we had more regulations when we started, we wouldn't have been able to be as innovative.
No.
And that's beautiful. Like, it's been the Wild West, but it's also been the Wild West of innovation.
It's not even, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's more like, it's not the Wild West. It's just more of like an experiment almost. Mm-hmm. It's a market experiment, essentially. But I love the way that we've done it. And the way that we've done it is exactly like you said, but it allowed everybody to also educate the patients.
Yeah.
Rather than just be focused on getting a product across the shelf.
In Ohio, they sell it as daytime or nighttime.
Yeah. And
what? It's supposed to work for everybody?
Right.
Daytime, nighttime? Just because this is daytime for you, it doesn't mean that it's daytime for me.
Yeah.
But that's how, like you're saying, it's just.
And then imagine getting those mixed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's so silly. And so we've taken a natural approach, a more humane and human approach to this medicine. We've looked at it as not just medicinal, but good medicine. It's good medicine to talk to people. It's good medicine to spread the word in order to allow people to actually make a choice of whether or not they want to go pharmaceutical.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. I don't think it's the right answer for everybody. You
No.
know, I don't get out here and push and say, oh, well, if you're not using cannabis, then it's not the right, right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing that. I'm, sorry, my kids
Oh,
have a
you're
thing.
fine.
They've been,
Gosh, we're looking at over 2-hour show now.
you're kidding.
Yeah, 2 hours and 7 minutes. So we probably ought to wrap it up pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, my kids, there's this really incredible organization here in Shawnee. It's a equine therapy. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever heard of Cargo Ranch.
Cargo
But
Ranch.
yeah, so they have horses, and they have a lot of mentors from the colleges and church groups, different stuff. And so my girls get to go there and kind of have their own community. They have a mentor they get to be with, and they get to go fish.
Oh, that's
They can go
cool.
groom horses. They do a chore on the farm. Like they
Yeah.
do this, and it's for them. It's something that they get to enjoy. It's something that it's their own space.
Yeah.
You know, they're not worried about what mom's hearing or what mom's doing, or, you know, does mom know what I'm doing. They get to be with these people, and they get to have their own space
Yeah.
and be their own people.
That's healthy.
And it's great. It's been wonderful. So they have that today. So they were messaging me like, don't we have cargo today? I'm like, yes, you do.
Yes.
Like, and they're wonderful people, you know, but like a little nonprofit.
Gotcha.
So
Awesome.
got to do that. But it's been really great. I mean, I know
Yeah.
I get a lot off into little tangents, and I can
No.
really speak for days.
Don't apologize.
I'm like, what do you want to talk about today? Let's talk about this. You want to talk about draperies, or you want to
Let's talk about draperies or.
but you know, but that's the beauty of life.
Yeah, exactly. It's the beauty of conversation.
Yeah.
And it's what I love about having a conversation with people. It's just to be able to talk about
Yeah.
whatever you want to talk about.
Whether I believe it or not.
Yeah,
You know, like I love to hear from people that see things differently than I do.
I do too.
You know, because I want to understand their perspective and what drives them to think differently.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
but sometimes it can get crazy. You know, politics is.
Yes, that is one thing.
But it's like, okay, yeah, I want to hear your perspective, but let's not go real crazy on this. Let's
Right.
just have a general
let's
conversation.
just- okay, yeah.
But-
Well, let's skirt around it a little bit.
Yeah.
We can
Well,
have a
thank
little
you.
bit of fun.
Thank you for like
Oh, yeah.
having me on here and talking, and you know, I guess letting people see who I am in a candid, you know, just a general
Yeah.
like sit down conversation, you
Yeah.
know, and unscripted, just bullshit.
Exactly.
And I can bullshit with the best of them, I guess,
Well,
sometimes.
next time maybe we can do an SNL sketch.
We'll do an SNL. Man, I've got ridiculous pictures. My mom's got pictures of me like dressing up, doing all this ridiculous stuff when I was young, and I see my little one doing that. You know,
Yeah.
she's a lot like me and spunky, and I'm like, I remind myself, you need to find her again.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So
And you know what? Maybe you just haven't.
maybe she's just mature.
Yeah, there you go.
I found her. She's